The last message from the Shard in the heart of London. The Shard pierced the sky, its glass facade reflecting the sun's rays during the day and glimmering like a jewel at night. Towering above the city, it was a symbol of modernity and progress. But for some, it was also a monument to something darker, a place where shadows lingered longer than they should. Emily Turner was a young journalist working for a small online publication. She had always been fascinated by urban legends and the hidden stories behind iconic landmarks. When she heard whispers about strange occurrences in the Shard, disappearances, ghostly sightings, and unsettling messages, her curiosity ignited. She decided to investigate. One rainy evening, armed with her notebook and a camera, Emily made her way to the Shard. The lobby was bustling with tourists and business people, their laughter echoing against the marble walls. She felt a thrill of excitement mixed with trepidation as she rode the elevator to the observation deck. She couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. The view from the top was breathtaking. London sprawled beneath her, a tapestry of lights and shadows. But as she leaned against the glass, peering down at the city, a chill ran down her spine. In the corner of her eye, she thought she saw a figure standing at the edge of the deck. When she turned to look, there was nothing but the wind swirling around her, shaking off her unease. Emily began to interview staff members about the rumors surrounding the Shard. Most brushed her off with a laugh, but one elderly security guard named Mr. Hargrove paused when she mentioned the disappearances. "Be careful what you seek," he warned, his voice low and gravelly. "This place has its secrets. Some things are better left undisturbed." Intrigued but undeterred, Emily continued her research. She discovered that several people had gone missing after visiting the Shard over the years. Some were tourists who had ventured too close to the edge, others were employees who had simply vanished without a trace. The police had never found any evidence, and the cases remained unsolved. Determined to uncover the truth, Emily decided to return to the Shard after hours. She knew it was risky, but the allure of mystery was too strong to resist. With a press pass she had cleverly obtained, she slipped into the building late one night, armed with only her phone for light. The corridors were eerily quiet, and the sound of her footsteps echoed ominously. As she made her way to the observation deck again, she felt an unsettling presence around her, a feeling that she was not alone. Shadows danced in the corners of her vision, but whenever she turned to look, there was nothing there. When she reached the observation deck, Emily took a deep breath and steadied herself. The city lay sprawled beneath her like a living organism, pulsing with life. But as she gazed out into the darkness, something caught her eye, a flicker of movement near the edge. Curiosity piqued, she approached cautiously. It was then that she noticed a small object lying on the ground, a phone. It looked battered and worn, as if it had been there for ages. She picked it up and examined it closely. It was an old model, covered in scratches. As she turned it on, the screen flickered to life, illuminating her face in an eerie glow. To her surprise, there were no contacts or apps, just one message saved in the drafts folder. It read, "Help me, I'm trapped." Emily's heart raced as she felt a chill creep up her spine. Who had sent this message? Was it connected to the disappearances? She quickly took a photo of the screen before deciding to dig deeper into its origins. Suddenly, she heard a noise behind her, a soft whisper that sent shivers down her spine. She spun around, but saw nothing. The hairs on her neck stood on end as she felt an overwhelming sense of dread wash over her. Ignoring her instincts to flee, Emily returned to examining the phone. She noticed that there were several photos stored in its gallery. With trembling hands, she opened them one by one. The first few images were mundane pictures of London's skyline and snapshots of people enjoying their time at the Shard. But as she scrolled further down, the tone shifted dramatically. The images became darker, blurred figures standing near the edge of the observation deck, faces twisted in fear. and one particularly haunting image of a woman staring directly at the camera, with wide, terrified eyes. Emily's breath caught in her throat as she recognized the woman, the same one who had gone missing months ago under mysterious circumstances. Her heart raced as she realized that these were not just random photos. They were clues leading to something sinister. Just then, the lights flickered overhead, plunging her into darkness for a brief moment before they returned with an unsettling hum. Emily's pulse quickened as she glanced around nervously. She could feel an electric tension in the air, a sense that something was about to happen. Suddenly, her phone burst in her pocket. Pulling it out, Emily saw a notification from an unknown number. "You shouldn't have come here." Her heart dropped as panic surged through her veins. Before she could react, a loud crash echoed through the observation deck. Something had fallen nearby. Emily spun around to see a shadowy figure standing at the edge of the platform, silhouetted against the city lights below. "Who are you?" she called out, trying to sound braver than she felt. The figure didn't respond, but took a step closer to the edge. Emily's instinct screamed at her to run, but curiosity held her in place. She could see now that it was a man, disheveled hair and clothes that looked like they hadn't been changed in days. "Help me," he whispered hoarsely. Her heart raced as she realized he was not just a stranger, he was one of those who had gone missing. His eyes wild and desperate. "What happened?" Emily asked, stepping closer despite herself. He glanced back over his shoulder nervously before leaning in closer. "They're watching us. You need to leave now before it's too late." Before Emily could respond or ask what he meant, he suddenly lunged toward her, grabbing her wrist tightly. "You have to get out. They won't let you go." Just then, another loud crash echoed through the deck as lights flickered again, this time more violently. Panic surged within Emily as she felt an overwhelming urge to escape this nightmare. But before she could pull away or scream for help, everything went black. When Emily awoke moments later, she found herself lying on the cold floor of the Shard's observation deck. The lights were dimmed now, casting long shadows across the room. A sense of foreboding filled the air as she slowly sat up and scanned her surroundings. The man was gone. Heart pounding in her chest, Emily scrambled to her feet and rushed toward the exit. As she reached for the door handle, she heard a faint whisper behind her, a voice that sent chills down her spine. "Stay with us." She froze for a moment before bolting through the door and down the stairwell. Each step echoed ominously as she descended into darkness, desperate to escape whatever horror lurked behind her. As she reached the ground floor and burst through the lobby doors into the night air, relief washed over her like a wave. But as she glanced back at the Shard illuminated against the night sky, she couldn't shake the feeling that something had followed her out, that whatever evil resided within those glass walls was still watching, determined to get to safety and uncover the truth behind what had happened that night. Emily pulled out her phone to call for help, but as she scrolled through her contacts, she noticed something strange. The last message saved on her phone wasn't from an unknown number. It was from herself. "Help me, I'm trapped." Panic surged anew as realization dawned on her. She had become part of the Shard's dark legacy. What had started as an investigation had turned into a fight for survival against forces beyond her understanding. As dawn broke over London, casting golden light across the Shard's glass facade, Emily knew that this was only the beginning of a terrifying journey into darkness, a journey that would lead her deeper into secrets buried beneath layers of glass and steel. And somewhere within those walls lay answers, or perhaps more questions than she could ever hope to answer. To be continued. The last message from the Shard. Part 2. Emily stumbled away from the Shard, her heart racing and her mind reeling. The dawn broke over London, casting a soft golden light that felt almost surreal after the horrors she had just witnessed. She needed to regroup, to figure out her next move, but the chilling realization that she was now part of the Shard's dark legacy weighed heavily on her. She found a nearby cough, ordered a strong coffee, and sat in a corner, her hands trembling as she replayed the events of the night in her mind. The man, was he truly a victim, or was he something else entirely? And what did he mean by "they're watching us"? Determined to uncover the truth, Emily pulled out her laptop and began researching everything she could find about the shards. History. Hours passed as she delved into archives, old news articles, and urban legends. The deeper she went, the more unsettling the stories became. Tales of a hidden network of tunnels beneath the building, rumors of a cult that once used the site for dark rituals, and accounts of people disappearing without a trace. All of it painted a picture of a place steeped in mystery and malevolence. As the sun set once again, casting long shadows across the city, Emily's resolve hardened. She needed to confront whatever was lurking within the shard. Armed with her notes, the mysterious phone, and a flashlight, she returned to the building that had become both her obsession and her nightmare. This time, she was prepared. She entered through a side door that she had discovered during her research, one that led to the service areas of the building. The air was thick with tension as she navigated the dimly lit corridors, her heart pounding in her chest. As she descended into the lower levels, she felt an overwhelming sense of dread wash over her. The walls seemed to close in around her, and every creak echoed like a warning. She reached a door marked "Authorized Personnel Only" and hesitated for a moment before pushing it open. Inside was a long hallway lined with storage rooms and equipment. At the end of the hall was another door, this one heavy and imposing. Taking a deep breath, Emily approached it and turned the handle. It swung open with a loud creak, revealing a large room filled with old machinery and forgotten relics. In the center stood a large glass case containing what appeared to be an old control panel. Emily stepped closer, curiosity piquing despite her fear. As she examined it, she noticed strange symbols etched into the surface, symbols that matched those in some of the photos on the mysterious phone. Suddenly, she heard footsteps behind her. Whirling around, she found herself face to face with Mr. Hargrove, the elderly security guard who had warned her before. "You shouldn't be here," he said, his voice grave. "You've gone too far. I have to know the truth," Emily replied defiantly. "What happened to those people? What is this place, Mr.?" Hargrove sighed deeply, looking weary but resolute. "The shard holds secrets that should never be uncovered. Those who seek them often pay a terrible price." "Is it true? Are there tunnels beneath this building? Is there a cult?" Emily pressed. He nodded slowly, his expression somber. "Many years ago, this site was used for rituals, dark practices that drew power from the city itself. When the shard was built, they thought they could contain it, but the darkness remains." Emily felt a chill creep down her spine. "And those who disappear, they're part of it?" "Yes," he confirmed. "They become trapped between worlds, lost souls who can't escape." Just then, Emily's phone buzzed in her pocket again. She pulled it out and saw another message from the unknown number. "You're too late." Panic surged through her as she looked up at Mr. Hargrove. "What does that mean?" Before he could answer, the lights flickered violently overhead, plunging them into darkness for a moment before returning with an ominous hum. In that instant, Emily felt an icy wind sweep through the room, sending shivers down her spine. "Leave now, Mr. Hargrove shouted, urgency lacing his voice. Without thinking twice, Emily turned and sprinted back down the hallway, fear propelling her forward. She could hear whispers echoing around her, soft voices calling her name, pleading for help. As she reached the exit door, she hesitated for just a moment. Behind her stood shadowy figures emerging from the darkness, faces twisted in anguish and despair. "Help us," they murmured in unison. "No," Emily cried out as she burst through the door and into the fresh air outside. She didn't stop running until she reached the street below. Gasping for breath, She looked back at the shard towering above her, its glass facade gleaming ominously in the moonlight. She knew now that whatever lay within those walls was far more powerful than she had ever imagined. But even as fear gripped her heart, determination ignited within her. She couldn't let those souls remain trapped. She had to find a way to help them. Days turned into weeks as Emily poured herself into research and interviews with experts on urban legends and paranormal phenomena. She learned about rituals that could potentially free trapped souls and ways to confront the darkness head-on. Finally, equipped with knowledge and courage, Emily returned to the Shard one last time. This time she was not just seeking answers, she was ready to confront whatever awaited her within those glass walls. As she entered through the service entrance once more, she felt an electric charge in the air, a sense of purpose guiding her steps. The shadows seemed to dance around her as she made her way back to that ominous room with the control panel. With every step, she could hear the whispers growing louder, urging her on. "Help us, free us." Standing before the glass case once again, Emily took a deep breath and began to recite an incantation she had learned during her research. A chant meant to break curses and release trapped souls. As she spoke the words aloud, the air crackled with energy. The shadows swirled around her like a tempest, as if responding to her call. Suddenly, bright light erupted from the control panel, illuminating the room in blinding brilliance. The shadows shrieked in protest as they were drawn toward the light, faces contorting in anguish before vanishing into nothingness. Emily felt a surge of power coursing through her as she continued to chant. With one final word spoken, everything went silent. The light faded slowly, leaving Emily standing alone in the now quiet room. She took a moment to catch her breath before stepping back outside into the cool night air. As she looked up at the Shard one last time, she felt an overwhelming sense of relief wash over her. The souls were finally free. But even as dawn broke over London once more, casting warm light across the skyline, Emily knew that some mysteries would always remain, some shadows would linger long after their stories were told. And as she walked away from the Shard, she couldn't shake the feeling that perhaps this was not truly an end, but merely another beginning, a reminder that darkness could never be fully vanquished, but must always be confronted. With newfound strength and purpose, Emily stepped into the light of day, ready to share her story with the world, a tale of courage against darkness and hope for those lost in shadows.